OpenAI just released a blog article that says ChatGPT is about to get so much better. How much better? Well, in my opinion, exponentially better. Not even the same product better. Okay, so I'm gonna run through this really quick. The article is very, very long, but thankfully I've read through it all and summarized it for us, so we can go through. I've highlighted all the parts that I think are important that we should go through. But the reason that you should watch this video is because if you have any inclination of wanting to change your life in the future, then developing with AI is the way. I mean, we're gonna read through this, and they point out subtly in multiple parts how this exact article, what they're releasing, is gonna destroy many jobs, and that leaves opportunity for people like you, the person that's listening, that has such a head start ahead of people, to be able to learn how to implement this stuff and develop your own plugins. So what did they do to make ChatGPT so much better? They announced plugins. So these plugins are very, very shortlisted for right now. The first plugins, it says here, have been created by Expedia, Fiscal Note, Instacart, Kayak, Klarna, which I don't even know what it is, Milo, don't know what that is, OpenTable, Shopify, Slack, Speak, Wolfram, and Zapier. Okay, so coming through it, the basic idea of these plugins is the fact that now ChatGPT is going to be able to access real-time information. If you don't know, ChatGPT historically has been limited to information up to July or September of 2021. But now with these plugins, people are going to be able to choose the plugins that they want, tell it that they want food, and it's going to go through and look at OpenTable or Instacart, and it's going to tell them where they should eat, and not just a recommendation of you should try to find a good vegan restaurant. It's going to tell them exactly where to go, and then also going to give them the recipe that they can get everything that they want off of Instacart, right? And it's going to link directly to the restaurant. Now, before, ChatGPT would be limited. It would offer you restaurants that weren't open at the time that you wanted them to be open. I just went to Boston and I tried to use this, and we finally got to the restaurant, and it turns out the restaurant doesn't open until 4 o'clock. So now with this, it can look at the actual schedule of the restaurant, what's going on with the restaurant, is the restaurant still open, and it can provide real-time information. Now, they refer to these plugins as an analogy. The perfect analogy is that these plugins can be the eyes and ears for the language model, giving them access to information that is too recent, too personal, or too specific to be included in the training data. This is completely groundbreaking, and the fact that GPT will be able to search the internet in real time, which we're going to talk about exactly how it can do that, but the fact that it can do that is going to open up GPT's usability tremendously. There are situations where I just simply can't use GPT because it can't pull from the internet, which they've showed an example of the alpha system that will allow it to pull from the internet. But one thing that's very important to point out here is that they've been testing this behind the scenes, and they say, for example, our red teamers, this is in context, talking about the negative adverse effects that will come from GPT being able to search the internet, and GPT plugins being able to be easily developed off of documentation and framework that they put out. So, for example, our red teamers discovered a way for plugins, if released without safeguards, to perform sophisticated prompt injection, send fraudulent and spam emails, bypass safety restrictions, and misuse information sent to the plugin, which is really exactly what we don't want language models to be used for. But other countries are definitely going to use these language models for this reason. Countries like China and Venezuela and Russia, they're 100% developing their own language models for misinformation and for the ability to spam out and do things like that. And even the United States, let's not leave the United States out of that. I'm sure they're working on it too. This is another excerpt from the article here that I want to read out loud. So, plugins will likely have wide-ranging societal implications. For example, we have recently released a working paper which found that language models with access to tools will likely have much greater economic impacts for those without, and more generally, in line with other researchers' findings, we expect the current wave of AI technologies to have a big effect on the place of job transformation, displacement, and creation. Ladies and gentlemen, they are coming out, and in a very, very small font section of this article, they are saying that these plugins are going to destroy jobs. It's going to have major societal and economic disruption by removing jobs, transforming jobs, displacing jobs. But the final one is the most important, and that's creation of jobs. And that is you. You have the opportunity to look at their documentation and be ahead of the curve and develop these things and create your own future, which is absolutely amazing. And potentially with this type of technology coming on the rise, it could be the last time that this type of opportunity is available to people. So highly recommend hopping on this bandwagon. But As far as browsing, so this is an experimental mode that allows GPT to browse the internet. It uses the Bing API in order to do this. So they made an example here where GPT retrieves recent information about the latest Oscars and then performs now familiar ChatGPT poetry feats in a one-way browsing that can be adaptive experience. Okay, so let's just watch this little clip of the video so you can see he asked it a question. It's actually browsing the web. It clicks on a article. Now it's reading the content. Now it's searching for the second part that it's going to need in order to complete the prompt. It's clicking on a link, and then it's going to read the content, and then it's going to give the prompt back to the person based on its newfound information. Now, this is really cool to me because it's actually actively crawling the internet. Now, this got me thinking, though, as soon as I started to read this, and it even gives the sources, which is really cool, and very similar to how the Bing search is working right now. And this is using the Bing API. But it got me thinking, a lot of websites don't allow you to crawl, right? Like, they have a robot.txt file that stops you from being able to crawl the website because, you know, they don't want you to be able to crawl the website because you can write Python scripts that can do all sorts of different things, and they just don't want it. And so it says down here that this will honor websites' robot.txt files, and this may occasionally result in a click failed message. Now, I think this has major implications on search engine optimization that they did not speak about in here, because as this moves forward, this is going to increase Bing's dominance, obviously, because they're not using the Google API, they're using the Bing API. It says right here, browsing retrieves content from the web using the Bing search API. So if you were Bing, think, you would want only to index articles that GPT would be able to find. Therefore, articles in websites that do not allow crawling will not index moving forward into the future. That's not going to be the case now, but as they adapt this technology and they adapt the Bing algorithm to work hand in hand with this, in my opinion, websites that used to be, you know, promoted for not allowing crawling on their site are now going to be demoted, and we're going to move backwards in this regard, or they're going to find a different way for GPT to crawl these websites without it actually being like a crawl on the website. So another thing is that they're relying, it says right here, this terrifies me. We inherit substantial work from Microsoft to source reliability and truthfulness of information. I mean, I don't think we should ever rely on Microsoft for reliable and truthful information, but okay, I guess we'll just move on from that. They're also going to use safe mode at all times to prevent the retrieval of problematic content. It only does GET requests, so it's only going to be pulling GET requests. But another thing is that this is essentially going to be inside of its own little ecosystem. It's not going to be connected to the main GPT network. So, you know, if you trick this thing into going and clicking on malware, it's not going to infect the entire GPT network. It's just essentially opening a virtual machine and searching, finding it, and then deleting that virtual machine, right? So they've also announced a code interpreter with this. So a Python interpreter that is sandbox firewalled execution environment. But as you can see, they've cleaned up the way that the code really looks tremendously in the way that it's describing everything to you and showing your work. That's what I'm noticing about this, is it's showing how it's getting things done a lot better. Okay, so this is another really interesting part as far as replacing jobs go, because their verbiage, I think that this is accidental, but if we read their verbiage here, it says having access to a very eager junior programmer working at the speed of your fingertips can make completely new workflows effortless and efficient, as well as open the benefits of programming to new audiences. So this is saying GPT is going to replace the junior programmer at your software company, which is, you know, good, but also terrifying, because they are subtly talking about GPT replacing jobs in this article, which they said months ago it would be years before we saw GPT replacing jobs. I'm telling you right now that that was a lie. It will be less than a year before we see GPT replacing jobs. In fact, GPT is already replacing jobs, but this opens it to a whole new playing field. So we're going to see it solving mathematical problems, both quantitative and qualitative, doing data analysis and visualization, which I'm going to show you a video of really quick. It's super cool, and converting files between formats. So if we look at this data visualization aspect, this one right here where this guy wants music.csv and all the parameters that he's going to need. What are the columns for the data sets? So it's going to go through and show artist.familiarity, artist.hotness, artist.id, artist.latitude, blah, 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 all the way down through the song names, everything you're going to need for a music ID .csv, and then how many rows does it have, and then it says 10,000 rows. And then this is the interesting part. Can you run some basic visualizations? And it goes through and it says working, and now it's going to spit out these data points graphed in a visualized manner. Boom, boom, boom. As you can see, it shows you the 3 right there. Okay, super cool stuff. The fact that it's going to be able to visualize. Now it's going to ask it to do an analysis with the years and everything like that. And then it goes through and it's going to plot a much more sophisticated version of this. Now, make an aggregated plot. This is stuff that you would have to pay somebody a lot of money in order to be able to do this, right? So it opens up absolutely incredible things. One thing is they want to make sure that AI generated code does not have unintended side effects in the real world, and they're also disabling internet access, which limits the functionality of their code in a sandbox, but they believe it is the right initial trade-off. In the future, I'm sure this will change, and the code should be able to access the internet. But this is where I really want people that are still watching this video that heard me in the beginning say, this is an opportunity for you to change your life. Really take this serious. So down here, you can see this is where they talk about building your own third-party plugins. Now, they have a wait list that you can join in order to build third-party plugins, but as you can see here, they include this manifest file, which is essentially how you would build your plugin. They also have released all of the documentation about, if I have it open, I don't think I do. I do right here. Okay, so this is the documentation on the plugins for right now, but this is going to grow and grow and grow. And after you join the waitlist, you're going to get access to the real documentation. As you can see down here, steps for creating a plugin are, and this is pretty simple as far as development goes. Build an API with endpoints you'd like a language model to call. This can be a new API, an existing API, or a wrapper around an existing API specifically designed for LLMS, large language models. Now create an OpenAI specification documenting your API and a manifest file that links to the OpenAPI spec and includes some plugin specific metadata. So they're essentially saying just use an existing or build a new API to communicate with OpenAPI, and then build us some documentation that shows us how to use this. And that is essentially what we're going to need from you in the beginning. So this is what it looks like. Again, they're showing an example of how the plugins work. So you can see it's using the plugin to go through and give you what you need. I think this might be the same video from above, but on mobile. So that's all good. Now it's making that Instacart list and literally giving you that Instacart list, which is huge. Coming down here, this is what a plugin developer is going to see. So I'll full screen this. But this is where, if I were you sitting in your seat right now watching this video, I would really think about getting involved with this and learning how you can make this into a reality and build your own plugin. Not sure what type of plugin to build? Well, it's going to open up a wide-ranging market where you're going to be able to, come up with many different unique ideas. Let it be finding some type of information about Christmas shopping, like Christmas will be here in a few months, and or birthdays, like what's the best birthday gift, or holidays, Mother's Day, Father's Day, finding gifts for these different things, or just thinking off the top of my head, maybe something that in crypto, because I know a lot of people that watch this channel are also crypto related, maybe something that helps you find pre-existing functions for a contract that would be useful if you're trying to build a custom contract.
Ready to add our plugin to ChatGPT.
Or something that helps you write marketing plans or SEO plans in order to grow your brand in crypto. The possibilities are literally endless, and what they're showing you is exactly how to build these plugins from the developer side. And if you hire some type of developer, or you go to your local college and you sit in on a few computer science courses, I'm sure you could come across, the skills in order to, or find a Udemy course even, you could come across the skills to start to learn how to do this stuff, which could absolutely change your life. One thing they did not touch on, and I really want to emphasize this right now, is they did not talk about how the plugins could be monetized, but I would only believe that they wouldn't be dumb enough to allow developers to build plugins and then not allow them to monetize these plugins. So I'm almost certain that these plugins will be monetizable, but because there's nothing actually outlining the monetization of these, people are going to be less eager to do them. So my advice to you as you watch this video is go read through the ChatGPT plugins blog article and find a way on how to implement this into your life, and find a way on how you can build your own plugins. And who knows, maybe you will become the next OpenAI millionaire. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe, comment, like, share it with a friend. Most importantly, share it with a friend. Share it with a friend. Peace.